Inclusivity is one of the most important foundations of all media, as well as society. And while that's true, there are many individuals that perform actions that they believe is inclusive, when in reality they're just performing the same acts of discrimination towards others. Only when they do it, they think it's just because of the scars of the past. This is a very special occurrence that I've noticed in all manner of pieces of media, movies, comics, TV, and even people. An occurrence I've decided to call inclusivity bias. Hogwarts Legacy is an open-world fantasy adventure game made by Avalanche Software and published by Warner Bros. Games. The game is very good from what I've seen in Let's Play clips and reviews, but regardless of that, it seems to have inadvertently sparked a massive fit of drama in the absolute dumbest way possible. Like, I've been doing this series of videos for a pretty long while at this point, and I'm still completely flabbergasted that this actually went down. It is an enormous drama-filled dilemma involving a community of people that damn near always pleasure themselves with the thought that their social group and community is full of the most inclusive, open-minded people there is, while also performing mass cyberbullying attacks that have gotten so bad that they've potentially caused the entire destruction of Twitch channels. And as for the icing on the cake, they have also managed to convince themselves that they are the victim. This debacle has made big waves across Twitter, where this all originated. And yeah, does it really surprise anyone at this point that this all birthed from Twitter? Boys, this whole dilemma has gone on for a few months now, and now that the dust is finally settled, I can get a proper and complete telling of the tale. So without further ado, let's discuss one of the dumbest forms of inclusivity bias I have witnessed yet. A 4chan level cyber attack cosplaying as transgender activism, this is the Hogwarts Legacy dilemma. Like I said before, this entire series may as well just be called Twitter Did Something Stupid Again. These Twitter freaks should be doing something way more important with their lives, such as reading Swip Swop. Swip Swop is a seinen manga project about a small group of strangers in a city of chaos. In the fictional city of Yakusoku, a small group of misfits, one of which is a bounty hunter, one a young billionaire, and more, have their lives completely change as they intertwine, and thus a fantastic series of misadventures occur. As simple as the premise is, the story itself is great, chock full of action, drama, and lots of comedy. A webcomic featuring stylishly designed quirky characters, very dynamic artwork, especially in the action shots, and more. What I generally want to say is that the entire aesthetic, dialogue, and story all feel like the highest quality form of Americanized anime there is. This comic is not some simple project made by a single aspiring artist. It's a legitimate production being worked on and produced by over 5 different people, and the quality shows. You can find this comic on Webtoon, Tapas, and VoiceMe. Links in the description. Read Swip Swop now! If you'd like to have your comic, novel, or etc. advertised in my videos as well, contact me via my business email. Further information in the About tab of my YouTube channel. Okay, let's begin, for real this time. The title of the video and subject matter heavily imply that all that would be important for this video is just discussing the game itself. You would think that something happened in this video game that sparked some controversy or something involving the title itself, right? But that is not the case at all. Like I said, this entire debacle is all birthed from Twitter, and logic applies to Twitter the exact same way trigonometry applies to your pet dog. So, expect none of the actions that these weirdos from this platform do to make so much as a smidgen of common sense. What this actually has to do with is not the studio that developed the game, not the company that published it, not any events or characters within it, or anything. What this has to do with is the original creator of the Harry Potter books, J.K. Rowling. Or Rowling, I don't know, honestly who cares. J.K. Rowling is an individual who is very active on Twitter, first big red flag, and has made statements towards, you probably guessed it, the LGBT. Now, boys, regardless of whether these statements are positive or negative, making any statement regarding them is a big no-no on this platform, since Twitter is a notorious hive mind for toxicity regarding that subject matter. But she seems like a very outspoken individual, which is neither an insult or a compliment, so naturally she spoke her mind anyway. To get to the point, J.K. Rowling was accused of being a transphobe, because she was caught agreeing with the opinions of a small handful of others who were labeled transphobes or were canceled and fired from their jobs for being quote-unquote transphobic. Transphobic, as I'm sure we all know, is a very loose definition to these very thin-skinned people. Pretty much having any form of opinion that differs from what they feel, keep in mind I didn't say what they believe, I said what they feel, will automatically grant you a label with transphobe on it by these people. Anyway, after these accusations, J.K. Rowling sat down and posted an entire series of tweets on her honest opinions on the concept of being trans, and furthermore, how transgendered individuals' personal feelings are diminishing the importance of women's rights throughout history. She was afraid that the concept of males converting themselves into females would ultimately undercut the significance of women's rights throughout history. J.K. Rowling's concerns were very blunt in their delivery, but they were also honest, and most importantly, completely void of any hatred or revulsion towards individuals who are transgender. But, well, you know, this is Twitter. So yeah, you can guess how things went down. Naturally, the LGBT community on Twitter, primarily the trans activists, got butthurt, completely misinterpreting her words to be the most demonizing possible, and thusly started a little canceling attempt. Since cancel culture as a whole is genuine hogwash, this predictably failed. So, they just, well, for lack of a better way of saying it, they just took their butthurt out on Rowling in whatever childish way they possibly could, in what can only be described as a very juvenile attempt at showing her who's boss, quote-unquote. They would send her nasty tweets that would make brazenly dumb claims that she's destroyed her entire legacy. They attempted to start ill-conceived protests to stop her from making any money via the residuals of the Harry Potter franchise, and the list goes on. I hate to paint all former trans activists online as some sort of hive mind of weirdos out there. I know there are some decent folk amongst these groups, but it's hard not to see this situation as anything other than the result of the trans community on Twitter wanting J.K. Rowling to really feel the repercussions of daring to speak up against their iron-fisted rule. It's really difficult to see this in any other way. Even after Rowling and many fans stepped in and pointed out the fact that she was not being transphobic in these tweets or in the past, they kind of just ignored all of these people. It's like these weirdos just wanted an excuse to be butthurt at something. Now, if you think things are already nonsensical, here's where things get even more idiotic. Just bear with me, please. The time passes, around 3 whole years later. Hogwarts Legacy, an open-world adventure game and the first Harry Potter game to come out in a very long time, shows its trailers all over YouTube. And thusly, all the Twitter weirdos get personally insulted at the game's existence because, oh no, we canceled J.K. Rowling. This game shouldn't exist. It should fail. On pre-launch, trans activists all over the world, and by all over the world, I just mean Twitter and Tumblr, since people outside of these platforms are normal human beings that have real problems, began e-protesting. Under the very firm belief that their online shunning of J.K. Rowling 3 years ago solidified the fact that no one on Earth should ever have any association with her, or her work. This protesting unsurprisingly failed. Various portions of the gaming community who all saw this and understood the situation proceeded to get up and point and laugh at these idiots because, well, I mean, they clearly are. Anyone with any form of common sense could easily look at these guys and say, hey, this random video game has nothing to do with J.K. Rowling, it's just a game that uses her books as source material. Why are you losing your mind over this? But again, boys, like I said, common sense and Twitter freaks come together like oil and water, so what do you expect? After being largely laughed off and ignored by the gaming scene, the transgender activists in question retaliated by performing the absolute most impressive form of mental gymnastics I have ever witnessed in my life, and against all form of intelligence and common sense, convinced themselves into believing that if you purchase and or enjoy Hogwarts Legacy in any way, that means you support transphobia. And thusly, you deserve to be harassed online and doxxed and cyberbullied for it. And thus, the great Hogwarts Legacy internet movement began. Because fans of this game and people who are associated in the creation of it are automatically transphobes. Okay, so, Wow, okay, okay. So, boys, the logic here, the grand motive behind performing blatant cyberbullying is because the game is based off of an IP that's based off of a book that's made by a person that these Twitter weirdos believe is an anti-trans neo-Nazi. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, and most importantly, the very obvious thing to say here is, why are you attacking this game? The dev team who worked on the game have no correlation to J.K. Rowling, and I don't think any of the staff. I mean, my point is that why the hell do you think that attacking this video game is like somehow getting J.K. Rowling too? What makes you think that attacking the video game, fans of it, and the devs who made it is getting J.K. Rowling too? How does that work? What sense does that make? I mean, I guess Rowling might receive financial residuals of the sales for the game because it comes from her IP, but she's already filthy stinking rich. So what do you think you're accomplishing is my question. Second of all, why would you think... Oh my god. Boys, do I even need to ask this freaking question? You have to either be genuinely delusional or just really effing stupid to think that purchasing a game supports transphobia. It's like thinking listening to Michael Jackson supports pedophilia. It's like saying watching The Cosby Show supports rape culture. And that's not what that means. That just means you like garbage TV shows. And thirdly, oh my god, I'm sorry, my mind is still blown by this motive. What do these idiots think they are accomplishing by doing this? Do these rejects seriously think that by running around and insulting and doxing people online, that's gonna slay the evil dragon that is some random Harry Potter video game? And through it, J.K. Rowling? You know, the same way the Night King was killed by Arya Stark in Game of Thrones and that just magically kills all the other Night Walkers? It just astounds me how irrational thought and hive mind mentality so easily leads to these insane levels of delusion. I swear to God, this is what happens when you don't go outside. Through the absolute weirdest and most nonsensical reasonings possible, Hogwarts Legacy has become the primary subject matter for a pack of rabid trans activists and SJWs performing vicious online harassment towards everyone around them. Anyone who has so much as a finger's length worth of association with Hogwarts Legacy and J.K. Rowling are demonized, berated, and harassed and shat on in general. And the reason why is because of a desire to, I guess, enforce and defend inclusivity, because somehow buying a video game makes you anti-inclusive? But here's the deal. Blatant cyberbullying is not an act of inclusivity either. It's quite the opposite, really. And thusly, this is an inclusivity bias. It genuinely astounds me how these inclusive weirdos on Twitter and Tumblr and etc. constantly brag on about how open-minded and welcoming their group is, but then they do absolutely vile stuff like this. I'm not saying all LGBT members are all freaks. That would be ridiculous, and honestly, if you think that's what this video is for, then you have completely missed the point of the entire video series. The problem with these people, the grand underlying issue with these idiots, is that these people have the worst perception to have about reality. They think that the world should just revolve around them, and they only see human beings as either on their side or the bad guy's side, quote unquote. Despite these people being mostly grown adults, they seem to have the mindsets of spoiled children who can't get their ice cream at the McDonald's because mommy said no. People do realize that there's gray areas in all things, right? For example, me. I identify as a furry, but that doesn't mean that I'm okay with degenerate freaks in smelly animal costumes grinding on each other while I'm minding my own business walking down Comic-Con. I am bisexual, so I am a part of the LGBT, and I love being a part of the LGBT. But that also doesn't mean I'm okay with pride parades where grown men dance butt-ass naked in public in front of fucking children. And this situation that I'm talking about right now applies just the same. I do 100% approve of of trans people freely having the ability to live their own lives outside of discrimination, much like I would for any other group of innocent people on Earth. But blatant cyberbullying isn't very innocent, is it? Oh my god, I just remembered something. This reminds me of something that happened flippin' ages ago. Okay, boys, you remember that one time a Steven Universe fan artist, like, almost committed suicide or some shit because she was, like, getting cyberbullied by, like, Twitter and Tumblr freaks? Yeah, I just looked it up. I think the reason why was because of some character, I don't know her name, I don't watch that stupid ass show, but I guess the character's, like, really fat, and the artist in question drew her skinnier? And then Tumblr and Twitter lost their minds over it and then started just bullying and trolling her for it for freaking months, and she almost took her own life as a result of it. I mean, that was ages ago, and she's fine now, but still, for the evident record, this is not the first time that these progressive freaks have gotten up and started performing blatant cyberbullying with a delusional sense of moral superiority. Now, boys, let me dig deeper into this nonsensical motive. Due to the fact that this entire dilemma is, well, completely effing stupid, makes no sense, is clearly not about the actual game itself, and is only about J.K. Rowling, well, it's given me an idea. I have a small theory that I'd like to share with you guys. Look, it's no secret that these trans activist weirdos on Twitter are extremely notorious for their emotional instability, to put it as politely as I can, and, well, emotional instability and pettiness come together hand in hand like peanut butter and jelly. When an emotionally unstable person feels like they've been slighted, they do not perform the mature act of not caring and just moving on with their life. What they do is they use the act of petty victory in a pitiful attempt to make themselves feel like they are the winner. And this wrong has been corrected now. You know how when middle schoolers insult each other and talk trash about each other behind each other's backs so they can walk away from the situation feeling like they're the winner? Yeah, I have a theory that this whole dilemma, this is the internet equivalent of that. These trans man children on Twitter participating in this nonsense do not like J.K. Rowling after she publicized her opinions on transgendered people. They got pissed off at her, and now they're holding a vendetta towards her now, because trans activists are extremely easily triggered, and like I said, in their little fantasy world, you're either with them or against them with no in-betweens or gray areas. So naturally, since these emotionally unstable losers feel like they've been slighted by J.K. Rowling, they want payback in the most petty way possible. And what better way to do that than to try and stop people from buying pieces of media that are loosely associated with her, while also hiding behind the veil of moral superiority and mental gymnastics tailored to convince themselves that they're fighting the good fight, quote unquote. I believe that the hive mind collective of hostile weirdos who participated in this nonsense don't actually care about Hogwarts legacy. It seems more like they're just using it as a little straw man, some kind of scarlet letter that displays guilt by association if they play or purchase it. It's a byproduct of a really weird, embarrassingly misguided proxy war that solely exists to flip the proverbial bird to J.K. Rowling in the absolute most petty way possible. But I digress. Let's discuss what they did along their little campaign. The rejects in question, who all rallied into a group of glorified keyboard warriors, engaged in a plethora of idiotic antics that range from harmless cringe to genuinely vile. Let's detail a few. The harmless cringe in question is just them doing little things, pro-social justice warrior news websites producing inflammatory articles that insult all gamers, making their irrational TikTok videos and etc. where they demand that nobody touch the game, on top of making brazenly stupid accusations that anyone who dares touch it is automatically a bad person and hates all transgender people. Other things that fit this bill is this amazingly embarrassing to look at piece of shovelware media. Apparently someone made a game, a different game called Hogwarts Legacy purchase simulator? The entire game, quote unquote, if you could even call it that, is basically just a physically wincing series of dating sim tier dialogue exchanges with what is essentially an automated bot cosplaying as David Zaslav, J.K. Rowling, and potentially more, engaging in a back and forth chat with you via unnatural dialogue choices chock full of activist humor, strawman arguments, half-truths, and just straight up lies and misinformation, cobbled together in a frankly desperate and pitiful attempt to make you as disgusted at Hogwarts Legacy's existence as the enraged basement dweller who programmed this browser-based afterbirth. Boys, obviously I didn't play it, I just watched a video of it for like 3 minutes, and I immediately detected BS right from the get-go. One of the most notable things I saw in this piece of crap was that the game tried to say that, oh, J.K. Rowling's transphobic influence really is affecting the world. Look at this article here from the Daily News that I found. And the article in question was a newsflash that Alabama was going to pass an anti-trans legislation. Like, what? What in the world does Alabama have to do with J.K. Rowling or vice versa? Rowling lives in the United Kingdom. How the hell is her evil influence magically affecting a state in the US that's literally on the other side of planet Earth from her? Alabama has always been a blatantly homophobic and transphobic racist place because it's full of degenerate trailer trash. J.K. Rowling has nothing to do with that. By the way, fuck Alabama. I'm serious. I was actually holding back and starting off with the dumb stuff first just to get it out of the way. Let me now proceed to show you the genuinely vile stuff these idiots have done, all under the delusion of activism and moral superiority. I'm sure you probably guessed this, but after being largely laughed at, shrugged off, and ignored by the general public post-protest, the situation quickly turned into cheap justification to get even more volatile. This resulted in, you probably guessed it, yet another canceling crusade. Only this time, it blew up out of control into insane proportions. Absolutely insane shit. For starters, the alumni. All manner of folk who have publicly worked on Hogwarts Legacy, be it voice acting, programming, coding, or pretty much anything, have been publicly paraded, attacked, demonized, and cancelled by the internet pitchfork mobs. A prime example of this is Sebastian Croft, an LGBTQ actor who stars in a Netflix teen drama called Heartstopper. Once he was caught in the credits of the game, he was publicly blasted, labeled a traitor, quote-unquote, by LGBT activists, and was forced to bend the knee to internet freaks, posting a public apology where he was forced to take sides in this idiotic internet conflict. Despite profuse apologies, he's still largely shunned online to this very day. Another good example is Robbie Coltrane. He's not in the game, he's from the movies, but he did pass away a few months back as of the time of this recording. And guess what? Trans activists celebrated that he died, spewing all manner of remarks and insults towards his passing that are essentially the online equivalent of spitting on someone else's grave. Why did they do this? Well, because before he passed away, he wholeheartedly supported and defended J.K. Rowling. So yeah, it's okay to make fun of somebody else's death now, because they're not on your side anymore. They're on the evil transphobe side. Okay, so it goes without saying at this point that this retarded crusade makes the 1800s witch hunts look like FBI investigations. Boys, I do not exaggerate, nor am I overreacting when I say that any human being that has so much as a finger's length worth of association with J.K. Rowling or Hogwarts Legacy is being hunted down and is being verbally attacked, sent death threats, and worse by these glorified e-bullies. And furthermore, despite these activist freaks' constant complaints about a lack of open-mindedness from the outside world, they don't seem to see anything wrong with verbally shitting on an innocent person's grave. But if you think that's already disgusting enough, what with them straight up pointing and laughing at an innocent person's death, let's take a look at what they're doing to simple streamers. You know, random folks who just play games live in front of people for fun. These SJW activists were so bloodthirsty to destroy anyone who dared to spend money on this flippin' game that they created an entire website specifically designed to track down Twitch streamers who played the game, so they would go to their Twitch streams and harass them while they're on stream. The harassment in question involved things such as flooding stream chats with derogatory spam, sexual harassment, racial slurs, doxing the user, even worse, taking it even further by also harassing the friends and family of said streamers via other online platforms, primarily Twitter, of course. And let's not forget death threats. Lots and lots of death threats. All types of individuals were viciously harassed on Twitch live on camera. And the people who were under attack, quote unquote, such as VTubers, chill streams, and etc., felt the wrath of these activist keyboard warriors, these goddamn freaks. This is not an occurrence that only happened to large-scale streamers. Twitch users, both big and small, were all cyberbullied, sent death threats, and harassed by these nutjobs.
I'm almost like thinking of just like either going offline or like I'm barely into the second combat here, and every time I look at chat, it's just the conversation is just like
maybe we can do like
bothering
a
me.
be right back, like a little break or something.
You can take a break if you want. I'll just stop talking and I'll just go fight and do the combat.
People have been apparently attacking me for supporting Hogwarts Legacy. Can you believe this? I didn't even know I was getting harassed. I had no idea about this. I wouldn't have even read the tweet. I just read the name. It's like, okay, never mind. That goes in the garbage. That's it. Yeah, this is a psycho.
It was my whole childhood. It was a world to escape to, and I went to every book release in my little robe and my little scarf with my best friends. And that was my whole world. That was my whole childhood. Like, I didn't have a great childhood, and Harry Potter made it so much better. And yeah, it sucks. It sucks that that's being tied with such horrible ideals.
My god, it's effing disgusting, man! Look, I know I already said this, but I need to say it again. I cannot get it off my chest. These people always brag about how open-minded and inclusive they are. Effing always. And here these people are doing this 4chan tier doxing and bullying and shit. Honestly, I kind of wish it was 4chan doing this. At least 4chan is aware of how much of sheltered losers they are when they do stupid shit. But no, when these people do it, they seriously think they're doing the right thing or something. They think they're actually doing something important by running around sending death threats to anyone that dares to stand up to their desires for inclusivity. And by that I mean sending death threats and harassing people for playing a fucking video game. The alternate version of reality that these social justice warriors see in this situation is so wildly barred from reality that you'd be convinced that all of the people involved in this cyber attack were just trolling if it weren't for the various videos, articles, and defensive statements that these morons have been making to justify their little fantasy world of moral-driven motivation. Everything short of straight up swatting somebody was inflicted towards every single human who had even a small hint of association with this game. So after all this blatant harassment and cyberbullying thinly veiled under the guise of activism, the result is that Hogwarts Legacy was a commercial failure, right? After all, these brave warriors that took to their keyboards fought valiantly and attacked anyone who dared to play a game that they didn't like. So the aftermath surely resulted in a unanimous victory for the Twitter activists, and nobody bought Hogwarts Legacy. Right? Well, let's take a long look at the aftermath. Hogwarts Legacy, despite the intense amounts of backlash, received sales that were high. Really high. So high, in fact, that 1, it sold 256% more than its original predictions, and 2, it sold $1 billion in sales. That's more sales than Elden Ring. Elden Ring, dude. Review scores are 9s and 10s all around, with the small exception of biased reviews that were afraid to stand up against the drones. A DLC has recently been announced as of the time of this recording, and as just a little side note, it scored at least 12 million copies sold within the first 2 weeks on top of that. Oh, and another thing, furthermore, as for J.K. Rowling, who was supposedly destroyed and completely canceled and ruined and all that BS, she's still being interviewed and contacted business-wise. In fact, she's currently been invited to be a head writer for the new remake of the Harry Potter series, rebooted as a top-quality episodic series on HBO, Game of Thrones style. Huh. Well, that's funny. Despite the seemingly endless amounts of borderline cybercrime from activists, J.K. Rowling, Hogwarts Legacy, and the Harry Potter intellectual property as a whole seems to be perfectly fine. Isn't that weird? Could it be that cancel culture, internet hate mobs, and cyberbullying was a complete waste of time that ultimately boiled down to shouting into a paper bag? Could it be that the world is finally waking up and refusing to bow down to weird online crowds who are not the majority demographics of media? Could it be that we're finally reaching the tail end of woke media being shoved down our throat? Who knows? Honest to God, who knows? Now, what I've been showing you guys has been very distressing, yes, but what I would like to do right now is wrap up this video by showing you guys what really distressed me as I documented this entire situation. What makes me angry about this is only partially because it's blatant cyberbullying. What really sets me off is, well, this. Check out this reaction that I discovered on Twitter. In the comment section of a Twitter post that clearly displays an innocent girl being straight up driven to tears via the incessant bullying online, I found this lovely message that evidently has been heavily agreed with by others. Unfortunately, if this is what we need to teach people it's important to not support J.K. Rowling, then this is what we have to do. You see this right here? They're okay with this. You see this whole situation? They are okay with all of this. This massive train wreck of innocent people getting berated for playing a fucking video game. This is an accomplishment to these people. This is a high point in their life. Bullying, harassment, death threats, pointing and laughing at someone else's tragic passing, it's all fine to them. It's an accomplishment to these freaks, because it's all under the delusion of activism and victimhood. Look, what makes me angry about this is not because they're engaging in cyberbullying, not because they're doxing people online, publicizing their lives, not because they're making innocent people break down into tears on stream. What makes me angry is that they're doing all of this, and at the same time, they think they are the victim. They are proud of themselves. They genuinely believe that they are the victim. When you boil this entire situation down, this is all an emotional tirade driven by a feeling of victimhood. I'm the victim if you choose to play this game. I'm the victim if you choose to like this game. I'm the victim. Can't you see how much of a victim I am as I perform malicious acts towards you, make people cry, point and laugh at people's graves, and generally am just acting like a massive cancerous tumor on the internet? Right and wrong, good and bad, none of that matters to these people. Now, these people have many things to say and many stupid excuses to defend their actions, but I'm telling you this right now. Ignore any excuses they have for participating in something this fucking cancerous or being comfortable with it. Ignore all of it. Because I'm telling you this right now, whatever they say they want, they are lying. Actions always speak louder than words, okay? And what their actions say that they want is that they are not interested in inclusivity. They just don't want to be screwed with. They just never want to be trifled with. That's all. What they evidently want via their actions is power, superiority, control, and the total destruction, or at least their understanding of it, to anyone who dares to speak up against them or prod against their insecurities. I mean, look at that Steven Universe fan art situation that I brought up. This is not the first time these freaks have gone rabid over something stupid, and it won't be the last. These people are all just insecure whack jobs who want to never be questioned or challenged, be it directly, indirectly, or whatever is in in between.
I have issues about other areas of women's rights. Do you understand?
Piers,
well, let me
shut
finish.
up,
Let me ask
bro.
you a question. Do you understand and appreciate?
What are all these dog whistles and talking points?
They're not
Do you
dog whistles
understand
and
the
talking
majority of
points.
women
They
athletes
are
do not give a
legitimate
shit
areas
about
of
trans women in
concern.
sport?
You can't just call everyone who
Piers,
disagrees
you're
with
an
you
uppers sketch. Shut
transphobic.
up, please.
Okay, look, I'm trying to give you a chance. I've explained my position. What is your problem with my position?
I don't really know. I'm going to leave the interview now. I kind of only came on here because I thought it would be kind of funny. But I want to say you're a and you're a fat.
No matter what these Twitter freaks say they want, what they really want via their actions is just tyranny and autocracy, specifically designed and weaponized to eliminate any single thing that exposes their insecurities. That is all they want. They just want power in the most petty sense of the goddamn word. Why else do you think these people are bullying individuals who just draw their favorite cartoon characters incorrectly? Because it exposes their insecurities. Why else do you think they're going on a weird bullying campaign? Because J.K. Rowling exposed their insecurities. The entire situation is a massive mess. A total catastrophe that just boiled down to a middle school lunch table slap fight about picking on people for the heinous crime of liking something you don't like. An online community of people that claim to be the most open-minded and accepting people there is all rally together to perform a 4chan level hate raid cyber attack just because of an irrelevant video game. And this travesty train wreck is a perfect example of inclusivity bias. That's all there is to it, boys. Thank you for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're entertained. And we've reached the end of the video, so it's time for the Patreon roll call. My $10 supporters are Cute Eater, Jack G, Joseph Vincent, Czar Bombaclat, Procrastinator Dave, Skyer, Syndrin7, and Stormy Knight. And of course, let's not forget our $5 supporters. They are appreciated just as much as our $10 ones. If you'd like to be in the credits as well, just catch me on patreon.com/blacklightjack. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.